Now, with what was going on over in Europe, this is 1916 at this point, and Europe is being battered to pieces. Everything that could be going wrong. We've already discussed trench warfare, and we haven't even touched on poison gas yet, which we'll also be coming to. And all the horrible events that are happening, the hundreds and thousands, the millions of casualties that have taken place already over there in Europe. A lot of people would think that on this side of the lake, over in the United States, things were rainbows and sunshine. It wasn't necessarily true. To our south in Mexico, there were a great deal of problems. Since for about the last 5 to 6 years, Mexico had been in the middle of a horrendous civil war. You had the government leaders on one side, and you had Mexican revolutionaries on the other side. Most notable, I mean, there were many revolutionaries, but the most notable one was come to known to us as Pancho Villa. Now, what was going on in Mexico at this time was most of the land was controlled by hacienda owners, the local people, the peasants. The remaining 95% of the populace had no control over nothing. Complete and total feudalism. It's the closest thing that could be said that we had on this side of the world that was similar to Tsarist Russia. The few on the top had all the power. The people on the bottom had almost nothing. And what Pancho Villa did was, among many things, he became known as, in a lot of ways, as not only a freedom fighter, but as a revolutionary. But he began trying to feed the people and trying to take care of the people. He would steal cattle from the hacienda owners, and he would try to feed it to the people, and he would try to rob the banks and disperse of the poor. In a lot of ways, he became what could be called a Mexican Robin Hood. And he was loved by the people, hated by the leaders for obvious reasons. And finally, it came down to a point where, I mean, on this side in the United States, American newspapers had written quite a bit about Pancho Villa, saying what a good guy he was. And they were predicting that he was going to eventually become president of Mexico with how he was just revolutionizing things and looking out to the common people and doing so much to fight against oppression. So he was thought of quite well. And finally, it came to a point where President Wilson started taking notice of these events. And in 1915, at the end of the year, President Wilson decided to recognize a gentleman by the name of Carranza as the official leader of Mexico instead of Pancho Villa. Pancho Villa viewed that as a direct attack on him because the American government was allowing the federal Mexican army to cross over into the United States, get on American trains, go around Pancho Villa's position, cross back over the border, and attack Pancho Villa where he happened to be at. So he viewed it as the United States had declared war on him for no good reason. He didn't understand this. He was just trying to feed and protect his people. Granted, he was quite brutal in how he went about this. So we'll go on that a little more in a few more moments. Here you go.